For more, I want to bring in CBS News congressional correspondent Nikole Killion. Nikole, always good to see you, and I'm so glad to talk about these races with you. Can you tell us a little bit more about this race and what essentially propelled Pat Ryan to victory in this special election?
Well, as you very well know, Caitlin, this issue was really centered on this issue of abortion rights. And as Ryan told me just yesterday on Red and Blue, he is somebody who was a West Point grad, a combat veteran, and really saw this choice issue as a fundamental right. And as he put it to us, he just said that when a fundamental right like that is ripped away, that people stand up. So that is why he believes that this was a winning issue, a galvanizing issue. He also said he felt that it was comparable to what we saw in Kansas, although that was a different type of election and didn't necessarily center around a candidate, if you will. But that being said, he said that he felt some of that same energy, that it was very palpable to him among voters. His opponent, Molinaro, of course, focused kind of more on some of those traditional GOP topics in terms of inflation, the economy, crime. And so that's why some do see this special election race as a potential bellwether, particularly for Democrats, come this November to see which of these issues is really going to resonate with voters. And so that is why a lot of people are talking about this race today. But I think it's worth noting that because this was a special election, we'll actually see both of these candidates again come November. They won't be running against each other. Of course, Pat Ryan will now have to run for the 18th congressional district. He'll serve the next couple of months here in Congress, but he will have to run again in November. And we expect Molinaro to do the same in the 19th.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see this test drive of messaging ahead of the midterms. 76 days to go. I want to ask you about kind of another dynamic. We just spoke with 25-year-old Maxwell Frost, who won his Democratic primary in Florida. But there are some other Gen Zers running on the other side of the political spectrum. In New Hampshire, for example, Republican congressional candidate Karoline Leavitt. Talk to us a little bit about her campaign, because I know that you've been focusing on some of these races in New Hampshire.
Yeah, well, I think what's interesting here, again, is just this whole Gen Z phenomenon, and listening to that interview with Maxwell Frost and talking about when he was in elementary school. I mean, it really kind of puts it into perspective that these are really young people. But as he mentioned, they're just kind of getting some of those first opportunities to vote and to run for office. And it's the same case in terms of Karoline Leavitt, who, in fact, I believe today turned 25 years old, which is like the minimum age to run for Congress. So, that says a lot in terms of some of these young candidates. But look, she is kind of on the other end of the political spectrum compared to Frost, as far as, he's very progressive. It's been this grassroots activist, whereas Karoline Leavitt, she is somebody who has a lot of experience within the Republican Party, having worked for the Trump White House in terms of being an assistant press secretary. She also was a chief spokeswoman for Elise Stefanik, who is now the House GOP conference chairwoman, who has backed Leavitt in this run. And we have seen a number of top Republicans endorse Leavitt recently, from Ted Cruz to Mike Lee. But what Leavitt has argued is that she, too, wants to draw more young people into the Republican Party. That is part of why she got into this contest. And she is proving to be rather competitive in terms of being towards the front of the pack in terms of those running for the Republican primary in this first congressional district. And if successful, she would go up against Chris Pappas, who's the Democratic incumbent.
Yeah, it'll be really interesting to see whether these younger candidates can attract younger voters, especially in a midterm. Nikole Killion, thank you so much for covering it all for us. We appreciate it.